Hello, African gold growers. How are you today? Welcome back to a new video. We have today an African gold grower, an inspirational entrepreneur in the biogas sector, Katrin Pütz. So welcome, Katrin, to an interview in African gold grower. And the first question we want to ask you is if you can tell us a short review of your career as entrepreneur, as African gold growers, actually bringing solutions to Africa.
Yeah, thank you very much, Haile, for having me. I am happy to tell you how things happened in my career. I did my bachelor in Rwanda, my bachelor thesis in Rwanda, on agroforestry and soil erosion and so on. And that was the first time I actually visited Africa and experienced how aid organizations worked. And that really blew my mind. I have to say, I had never experienced anything like this in any other on any other continent I had visited before, and I had been around. And I thought, wow, this aid system, that doesn't make sense to me how this works. And this really created the foundation for what I did afterwards, because I went back to university and studied agricultural engineering. In that time, learned about biogas at the university, and thought about a possibility to make biogas a business instead of dependent on aid, because that was the case back then in 2000, what was it, 10, when I started working on the biogas backpack and the concept to make biogas mobile and a business. And this is the short version of how I came to work on biogas. Yeah.
So here we connect with the second question. Why biogas? How did you find a need and then you wanted to solve this need with biogas?
Yeah, it's a combination of the things I just said, actually. It was that I learned about biogas at the university in Germany, about German biogas technology, and that's high tech, I have to say. But the principle of producing biogas is simple. It's basically a gas tight container that is run at above 20 degrees, and that should be possible to be done in countries where it's naturally warm and where people are lacking access to clean cooking energy. And I checked what was being done in Africa in regards to biogas, and I found national biogas programs. And then I thought, okay, some other people have thought of this. Great. So this is how it started. And biogas just makes sense because it's so easily produced from things that we normally want to get rid of or dispose of or just simply don't use, with very simple technology. And I think it doesn't make sense only in Africa, but you're lucky in Africa because you have warm temperatures. But it also makes sense anywhere else in the world, actually.
Yeah, now it's bringing more importance in Germany because the war in Ukraine, you know. So people is like watching to this kind of technology that are very easy to produce. But here I think it's like this mindset about or this different perspective, no, from how we face problems in developing countries than in developed countries. I think is yeah, are different ways to how we take advantage from our resources, in my opinion.
Yeah, but see, the system is completely different, and taking advantage of things requires to have an environment where you can take advantage of things. And that's what's often the crux in Africa, because aid and this whole system around it is so well set up. But I think we'll talk about this later. Anyway, it can be a big obstacle for entrepreneurs.
Yeah, well, it will be another questions and about your challenges as entrepreneur. But first, I want to ask you if you can tell us more about your or about B Energy and your business model around biogas. Because I listen in your videos in the documents in your website that you have a franchise system, but it's very interesting because you have different like roles inside of this training program, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. That's correct. My aim is not to disseminate biogas systems. My aim is to make biogas people's business. Yeah.
Okay.
And this whole chain of business opportunities involved starts with the biogas backpack, which was the technology that I developed first. In 2010, I developed the biogas backpack, which is just a big balloon that you can use to store and transport biogas on the lowest technical level possible, I would say. Yeah. Without electricity, without anything really, you can fill this backpack and sell biogas to your neighbors to earn money with your biogas system. That was the idea. And that's where it all starts. So our customers, our biogas producers, they become entrepreneurs as biogas sellers. That means they earn money. That means they don't depend on anybody giving them money to buy a biogas system or pay for this system. So the second business in line is the installer, independent installers who install biogas systems for the users. They promote the technology and they train the users and service the technology. Yeah, so they are the technicians. They do their own business by providing their services. And then we have the third, the third business is for the distributors. Distributors are our direct partners who import our technology, ideally in bulk, and they bring it to the market in their countries. Yeah, so they just do an import business basically and manage the installers and customers. So these three businesses are involved, and it's not exactly a franchise, although it actually works like a franchise, but we're not calling that anymore because franchise was, especially to Ethiopia, really new. And we then thought, okay, franchise is not known. Let's do technology transfer, for example, and we have a distributor locally. But this is the three businesses involved.
So, for example, in the case of Ethiopia, or in I think it's Uganda and Kenya, that you already have partners. If it's already a partner, you have a space for more African entrepreneurs that want to join to this model system that you have?
Definitely. We do have a lot of space for more distributors, and I'm actively looking for distributors, actually. People who have the capacity to invest in a training, which we can deliver online. We can connect them to existing installers because I have trained a lot of installers across the continent in the last 13 years. And they have to have the capacity to import in bulk. Yeah, so at least a pallet, let's say, to bring it to their country and then start disseminating or selling the technology.
Just to inspire more to the entrepreneurs that are watching us. Normally, how much can earn after this period of adapting in the business? How much money can earn an entrepreneur in biogas in Africa?
That really depends. It's very difficult to give a fixed figure because it depends on the price of cooking energy. I mean, we're replacing cooking energy, and the whole calculation starts with the price of firewood and charcoal, for example, which we were mostly replacing, and the business of the user, the person who sells the gas. Because what is a biogas backpack worth is the question. And we can say, actually, before the pandemic, the average across the continent was actually 50 euro cents per backpack load. That was the equivalent to the amount of firewood you would use, which is about 6 to 7 kilos, or 3 kilos of charcoal. That was the price of firewood and charcoal on average. This has changed, and Uganda is a good example. There people pay up to $2 per day for cooking energy. And if that is the price you pay for a full backpack, then imagine how much somebody can earn per month by selling one backpack per day, or even 2 backpacks or 3 backpacks per day. That's where the business model starts, and that's where you have to start calculating. And that's what determines, for example, the margin a distributor can put on his or her products. Because the higher the sales price of energy, or the higher the cost for energy, the higher the technology can be sold, the higher price, and without having a long payback period, for example. Yeah, if you calculate with a 1 to 2 year payback period, that's where you determine your price. For example, of course, you can also say, okay, I want a margin X for every product that I sell. And then again, it depends on the import cost, the taxes, and so on, that you have to pay for the import of the technology.
Interesting. This is really interesting because different countries have different challenges inside of it, isn't it?
Totally. Just to give you an example, to send one pallet, which is like 10 to 15 or 20 biogas systems, depending on the size, to Somalia will cost you 2,500 euros. To send it to Nigeria costs you 250. Yeah. So just to give you an example, this is like tenfold just the transportation cost. So that's where differences come from. Yeah. But then just talking about prices, being able to charge the price that you need highly depends on who else is in the market and whose money they use and how much of it to subsidize their products. Because fact is, there is hardly any biogas system on the African continent that has not been subsidized. And that's actually a main problem to determine prices, because we have to somehow compete with the aid industry, which is really tough.
Yeah, it's a big challenge. And I think it's the major the major thing you are talking in all your videos and in all your project, no? Like this challenge we face the majority of entrepreneurs, because it's not only in energy or it's not only in water, even, for example, in social media management or in any kind of industries, Africa is facing a lot of challenges when they face with the AEDs. Now, the next question we have to you is actually around this. What have been your biggest challenge as entrepreneur?
Yeah, you can say that's exactly the topic. It is the fact that I have decided to work 100% aid free, and that's the challenge. Yeah, selling biogas technology in Africa makes you rich if you work with the aid industry. You sell thousands of systems, cashing the money that is thrown at you, basically, by either aid organizations or now also carbon offsets or carbon certifiers. The money is there, it's easy, but I know the damage that this creates for African entrepreneurs. So I have decided to go completely without this from day one. Yeah, that's why I developed the backpack, to make this possible. That's the challenge, yeah, to exist and to not put my partners in this position where they will be outcompeted by an aid organization or a foreign-funded program that provides biogas technology for free, or at a reduced price. The second challenge is that biogas has quite a bad reputation in some countries. And that, again, has to do with the approach that has been taken the last, let's say, 15 years by the aid industry, because setting up biogas systems is one thing. Taking care of them, setting up a service infrastructure to keep them going is another. And this is something that has not been taken care of, and there are probably 50 to 80% of the systems that have been installed are not working. So the bad reputation of biogas is the second obstacle to sell biogas.
Yeah, that this is why you are promoting to have more entrepreneurs involved in the technical assistance to the biogas systems.
Exactly. Yeah. This is why we train people, why we motivate people to work without aid, as entrepreneurs, as proper entrepreneurs, and take care of their customers. Yeah. Because nothing is more expensive than something that doesn't work, honestly. I mean, that's not cheap at all at the end.
Yeah, and specifically because the majority of the entrepreneurs in the continent, we start very small. And I think actually is the best way to start, and majority of successful entrepreneurs recommended in Africa, because you can start very small but dreaming big. so you take down a lot of risk when you are learning in the process.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Now to the next question is like face the other thing of the story. What have been your greatest rewards or achievements or satisfaction, especially as personal as entrepreneur in this process?
I mean, something that I'm really happy about every day is that there is a growing number of people who want to become distributors every day. Yeah, there are requests nearly every day from people who want to become distributors. Then I help them to calculate whether it makes sense in their country. One country where I can say it doesn't make sense is Uganda, because it's completely flooded and destroyed by aid, and it does not make anybody happy to sell biogas at market price there. So together we evaluate whether it makes sense, and then some of them start, others don't. There are also people who give up because of projects or programs coming in. But that is my, yeah, my pride. I can say that people trust me enough to start this business, yeah, with their own money, despite the very difficult situation in the aid distorted markets. But something else that I'm really, really happy about is that even an investor, an African investor, trusted me and my business model enough to actually invest, yeah, and to become a partner, a close partner, and a supporter of this vision and approach. And that's something that really makes me proud, and yeah, keeps me going, really, because
Yes.
I reject offers from Western investors. Yeah, I don't want that people from other continents decide what is happening in Africa. Okay, I'm white, obviously, I'm not African, but I offer my idea and technology for Africans to decide whether they want this or not. And this is what has been happening. It is foreigners who decide for Africa, and I think that's so wrong. And I just want to not play that game. Let's put it this way. And the third
Always.
thing that I can say is quite an honor at the moment. There's a big African airline that has recognized my work and has said, okay, you know what? We will be happy to make your product and your work a little bit more visible. So let's put it into our onboard magazine, and that's that's coming out very shortly. And I think that's an interesting way to um, to to approach and to reach potential African partners.
Always, always. This is amazing because when I started watching your videos, your talks, and I listened your proposition, to me was something that impressed me so much because you understood very well the problems inside of the continent, and you said we need a local solution. So you adapted the technology that maybe you can learn in Germany in this case, but you adapted to the circumstances of Africa, and all the narrative that you are building in your business is about to adapt to an African solution. And I think this is amazing. I'm really, really congratulate to you. And basically, this is how we think is an African gold grower. You know, a people who is facing in a very creative way the problems of Africa and bringing solutions that literally are making gold. Not only because you are creating jobs and bringing money to the local economy, because you are resolving real problems in the local community. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah, this is beyond biogas. It's just a vehicle to show that it's possible. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do. Yeah. And to motivate people to do what I do because it's possible. Yeah. To work without aid. Yeah.
Nice. So the next question will be, what would you have liked to know from the beginning of your journey? What kind of knowledge, what kind of advices do you want to know since the beginning of your journey as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, that's not an easy question because it's unique. I haven't met anybody actually on in all these years who is so strict without aid as I am. So what I would until today would have liked to know, where are the people who work like me? who are really implementing technologies or businesses in a distorted market and succeed.
Mm-hmm.
If I could know these people, I would really be happy, because I think we could support each other and make this more known. Yeah. The thing is, what is the challenge is to reach people with the idea, because it's still not clear. On the ground, I can say that aid is not really helping you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if we could find a way to reach people with this information and give them the sense of dignity that you probably need to reject aid. But it's clear after this history that Africa has, you don't naturally have this
Mm-hmm.
feeling that you can reject this kind of aid, or this stuff that is supposed to help you. So anyway, this is maybe not exactly the answer to your question, but if I could know the people who work like me, I would be very, very happy. Yeah? And I want to encourage them to reach out to me if they are listening.
Well, I have to tell you, in my personal perspective, it's something I never realized it. In my areas, I'm going to move soonly to Ethiopia back. I hope in less than 2 months. So
Oh,
one of my areas was around clean energy or sustainable technologies, and I was thinking actually one of these was biogas, and was another solar heaters and some other things that I faced in the times I have this hype in Ethiopia. But something I never realized is about the AETs. So this is something really, really interesting to face to any entrepreneur. And well, here, one of my areas at the beginning I want to share with you was to promote the rabbit farming, to provide different kinds of income resources to the local people. Could be, for example, the meat, but the thing is in Ethiopia, 6 months people don't eat meat. But at the same time, you have the manure, so you can have fuel and you can have like organic fertilizer.
mm-hmm.
So it was my area, but when you start talking in your videos about work without AD, I say, well, I think it's something. If I do this project in the ground, it's something that I have to have very clear and work with a lot of discipline. So.
Perfect. That's great. So you will be the first person I meet.
Nice.
No, I'm sure there are more people than just us out there, but it's important to connect. Yeah,
Yeah,
let's
yeah,
make
we
this.
need to make a more network, I think. So we have last questions. What advice you can give to the entrepreneurs that are watching us, and how do you see in 10 years as entrepreneur?
Mhm. The advice that I can give is just do it, you don't have to wait for money to do things.
Okay.
I can tell you, I have deliberately started this without money. And it is not the fact or the case that white people naturally have money. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I started this really without money and without African supporters, and in this case from Ethiopia, the Addis Ababa University back then. Without them, I wouldn't have done this. But I had a technology that I developed, and I was extremely convinced that this can make a difference. And luckily, I found people in Africa who said, yes, you are right. This can make a difference in the biogas sector. And I I followed their lead for to be clear. And they helped me to move this forward. And you can't do it alone, that's for sure. But you don't have to wait for somebody to give you money in the first place. Yeah. But if you have an idea, and that's what entrepreneurship is about, it's
Mhm.
about solving problems. That's why
Yeah.
you become an entrepreneur, because you want to solve a certain problem. Yeah. Whether it's with a service or a technology doesn't matter. So make sure the problem you solve is actually a real problem. And then if you are able to do that, then you know that what you're doing is worth something, and then you can find partners. But don't stop only because nobody gives you money. Yeah. This is what I can say, and everything else will develop. Yeah, it'll come. It might take long. Don't give up. You really need a lot of time, and it's hard work and effort and time without money, I can assure you. But if you believe in your business or your idea, then it works. It'll work.
Nice, nice. So how do you see yourself in 10 years? And anything you have recently learned in your life and you want to share with us?
Yeah. I can't say where I am in 10 years because I never planned like this. I'm kind of, I have adopted the mentality of living day by day.
Nice.
But I know what I want to achieve in my life, and that is to stop aid at least in the biogas sector. And for this, I have founded, together with African and European partners from the sector, an initiative called BioGas Unite. And with this initiative, we want to, first of all, fix all broken biogas systems on the continent. Because what prevents the development or the success of biogas is the bad reputation. So let's first fix the reputation of biogas by fixing these systems, making them work, and keep them running by providing proper customer service. So it'll be a Pan-African repair and customer service for biogas systems. And in the second phase, of course, we want to kind of phase out aid by mobilizing the private sector to raise their voice for a fair environment, a free and fair market for biogas entrepreneurs, so that they can be protected from market distortion, protected from free products, just like we have it in industrialized nations. We have competition laws, we have anti-dumping laws, so that nobody comes and provides any product that somebody is trying to sell for free. We need this in Africa, I believe, and then development and private sector and economic development can happen. And if we in the biogas sector can show that this is what's really needed, and then we can find a new role for aid to play, be it promotion, be it training, be it providing loans for entrepreneurs or end users, that's to be developed. But this is what I want to achieve. I'm not just a biogas entrepreneur who wants to sell biogas technology. That's way too small for me. We have to do more than that to be successful and to make biogas a real option for people in the long term. And solve so many problems with it, because of course it's not just the cooking energy, it's deforestation, it's climate change, it's waste management, it's soil fertility, agricultural production, and so on. There is nothing that you can't solve with biogas nearly. And it's income generation. So but the conditions need to be right. And before we spend our time disseminating biogas systems with aid money, we might as well use our time to set up a sector that can function without aid.
Okay, how can we support the energy to continue growing?
Supporting the energy with money is not possible. We don't take donations. We don't take. We do accept investors from Africa. That's possible. But it's not all about money. It's about the right business partners, actually. What I need for B Energy to really make a difference in the different countries in Africa is strong distributors. Strong business partners who understand the problem with aid and who have the capacity to really roll this out on a larger scale in their countries. That's what we need, and that's all we need, actually. If you as an individual want to support B Energy, there is a possibility you can become a B Angel. That's people who don't donate money but time and expertise to support us with whatever they are good at or get good in, with their expertise in certain problems. We have people who help us with IT things, or with graphic design, or with coaching, or you name it. So this is this is for the individual a way to support us, but also to get kind of involved in the business a little bit and learn how we work and how biogas works and how this business works.
Nice. I think this is the magic of social business, no? Because we think in a different way of how to make business at the end and how to solve certain needs of the society. So the last question I want to ask you is, how do you meet the concept of social entrepreneur, all this theory of Mohammed Yunus, and how do you adapt to your project? Because to be honest, I read the book of Mohammed Yunus, How to Start a Social Business, but I have certain questions in the process. I read it last year about, for example, one of my biggest questions was if you can be able to accept aid this money, for example, to grow your enterprise. And now, watching your videos, listening to your story in this interview, I learned, well, it's not a good idea. And if you can share a little bit more about it in your experience.
Yeah, it's actually quite funny how it started with the social business, because I didn't know about Yunus and I didn't know about social business. When I started working on the biogas backpack, I said I developed the backpack as my master thesis, and I was sitting in my kitchen with one of my flatmates, and I talked to him about the business model that I want to design around the backpack. And then he said, this already exists. It's called social business. What? How great! Because I'm not an economist, I would never be able to really develop this. But so this is how it started. I immediately bought the book that you just talked about, the social business by Professor Mohammed Yunus, and I was just so amazed and happy about this, that it already existed. And then it was easy because it just all made sense to me. And I love Yunus for his quotes, like alms are the worst form of insult and the degradation of the poor, for example. Like, I mean, this is what he does. And the way I understand him is social business is an alternative to aid and has nothing at all to do with aid and does not work with aid. A social business is a business that is run not for profit but for impact, to solve a social problem, which you normally do as an entrepreneur, whatever problem it is. But it is not there to be supported by external funding or held alive by external funding. So the way I understand Yunus is that it has to be economically and financially independent. And that means you don't depend on aid. Yeah. And this is also how Yunus developed his first social businesses. But I have to say, it is sad to see what happens with social business, because it becomes more and more invaded by aid, or however you want to call this, because most social business completely depend on external funding and are not at all businesses. They are social, yes, they're NGOs or something, but they're not businesses. And there is, I think, the problem with social business, it has never been clearly defined what it is, and this company form has never been set as a legal form for a company. Yeah. And what is still making me optimistic that social business will actually spread is the movement of the economy for the common good, which is a growing movement here in Europe, especially Germany and Austria, actually, that thinks this whole social business idea a little bit further and clearly defines what you have to do as a company that wants to be certified as a company for the common good. Yeah. And that's where Yunus has just done an awesome job to to create social business and create this idea of how to work more responsibly in this world. But as the energy, I can say, all of the social business aspects are fulfilled. There are 7 rules for social business, and I don't know if I'm overly strict with them, but I very, very strictly follow them. Yeah, even investors don't get dividends, for example. This is something somebody has to accept.
Yeah, this is another question that I have. Well, I already know because I read the book, but if you can explain us, for example, in social business, if you cannot take the dividends of the profit, how you earn money is because you establish a salary. This salary can increase over the time. How it works in on the ground, actually, in the real life.
Yeah, no, it's not for your employees. Everybody is employed by this business gets market wage. That's also a rule of social business. Nobody slaves, unless you have to because your business is not running. But nobody slaves in a social business. What is meant is that, and that's the idea of Yunus, people who are already rich or rich enough to invest into a company and risk their money, basically, they don't have to earn more money by putting this money into a company that creates a profit, yeah, and getting dividends or any kind of money out of that company. So that's the idea of Yunus. But I do understand that some investors say, hang on, maybe I have a social business myself. Why shouldn't I earn a little bit by investing into your business? And why don't you trust me to use the money that I earn with this? Use the money for something good in the world. So this is something we can discuss. But everybody who works for a social business earns a normal salary.
So here, yesterday, I'm reading another book of Mohammed Yunus, the Three Zeros. And yesterday I was reading something really interesting when he talked about the importance of social business in the economical crisis, because he said in this new economy, because we are facing problems in a different way, we don't have the same challenges over the economical crisis. Now we are living an economical and health crisis along the world, and Ethiopia, for example, faced the war in 2020. Mm. So, in your experience, do you think a social business is more resilient than a traditional business in this kind of crisis because they are solving the specific and basic needs of society?
That's a good question. Yeah, you are probably more resilient because you set up your business more efficiently. Because I can just tell from my own experience that I am trying to reach customers in Africa with an affordable biogas technology. Yeah, that means being based in Germany, I cannot set up a huge company with German employees. That would never pay off. That would never generate enough income to finance this. So you have to develop mechanisms to be very efficient. Yeah, this is now in my very special case. That means if your revenues go down, you're not so easily falling or affected. So you are kind of more resilient, but I can also say that we had hardly any sales during the pandemic, simply because there was no, like, the whole logistics systems crashed. Yeah, there was no transport, there was no shipping to Africa, but also people had no money, the uncertainty and all this. But yeah, being set up that way, it didn't harm us. But I don't know if this is an exception in the social business sphere because, as I said, many social businesses depend completely on external funding, and they are not at all social business, but they call themselves that. So you really have to look out for the real social businesses, and that's not so easy to recognize. Yeah.
So, well, the last question is something you want to ask to us, or you have any doubt about the project or anything you want to know about us?
About the gold growers, you mean? Or?
Yeah, African Gold Growers Project, or
yeah, good question. I have to admit, honestly, Helle, I did not. I didn't watch any of your videos. I just didn't have time. But let me think. Yeah, I would have the simple question to your audience: what do they think about this radical approach? That's what it is, to work completely without aid. Um, because what I had to listen to from the start was, forget it, this is an impossible business. Yeah. And I mean, I'm still here 10 years later. And yeah, what people think, is this possible? Because we're still not huge, we're not everywhere, we're not turning big money. Yeah.
Mhm.
But does it have a chance to become big? Do you think the mentality in Africa is changing towards, taking the step and saying, yes, let's do this by ourselves?
I think, in my personal perspective, the mindset is changing, but it's changing in a certain sector of young entrepreneurs, of young society. But I think the other major part of society is facing a lot of affairs about the economical situation, the political situation, and I think it's because many young people is trying to get engagement with this. We say it in Mexico, the American dream, but I think it's in Africa, it's the Western dream, to go to earn a lot of money. But I think the people who is changing the mindset, who is taking the the risk and taking action to bring real solutions in the continent, is people who understand that it's not everything about money. It's about the lifestyle, the life quality we have, and the big impact we are giving in our society. This is my perspective. And I think the narrative in Africa is changing really fast and will bring a new economical development. Yeah, we are going to watch a lot of technology, a lot of development as in the Western world, but I think Africa will grow in a little different way. I mean, it's like, for example, you know perfectly Ethiopia. When you try to explain for example, here in Mexico to my friends, how is Addis Ababa? You cannot say it's a normal city. It's a crowd city, yes. It's a big city, yes. But you have a lot of things, like if you are in a small town at the same time, and you have a lot of contrast in the culture because you have multi-language country, just because it's the political center of Africa, but because the multicultural society we have in any African country, not only in Ethiopia. So in my perspective, the things are changing, but we need to work and work and work and work to convince more people to be an entrepreneurs. For example, I listen a lot of people saying, we don't have work in Ethiopia. We don't have enough jobs in Ethiopia. Well, take action. A lot of needs around your economy. So you can start a small business that provide you enough money earning to survive, to have a good income, a good lifestyle. But at the same time, you are changing the narrative in the country because you are bringing these services and goods that society already needs. So I think we'll be challenged, but I think it's changing, in fact.
Yeah. And I mean, you talking about Ethiopia and people saying we don't have jobs. This just reminds me of my own story, because I started my company in Ethiopia. I was not even
Mm-hmm.
in Germany. I started it from there. Only I wanted to actually found a company in Ethiopia, but I needed 200,000 euros for that as a foreigner, and I didn't have that, of course. So I decided, okay, let's found it in Germany, and but still work in Ethiopia with local partners. And I spent 4 years in Ethiopia, and I started my company there. So it's like I didn't do it from a nice office in Europe, where somebody
Yeah,
paid me to do this, but I did the bootstrapping thing, and so yeah, it's possible, but it's hard work. But like, it doesn't help to say there are no jobs. It doesn't help to say nobody gives me money.
yeah,
It's
totally
still
agree.
possible.
Totally agree. Well, to me, it's all the questions that I have. I really, really, really thank you by your time, by your comments, all the knowledge you are sharing with us, the inspiration you bring to us. Personally, me, it's a big satisfaction to meet the first social entrepreneur I meet, and somebody who is actually in all the definition we have as an African gold grower. So thank you very much. Botama Maseganal.
Cigarello, musikanalo. Hershey. Yeah, thank you too. It was fun to be here. Thank you very much.